for how do you develop yourself, my straight up advice always, expose yourself to books and reading. Exceptional readers are never ever left behind. Never ever left behind. Check the records everywhere. Be a good reader. Read and read. Read everything. Read spiritual materials. Read current affairs. Read fiction. Read.
Okay.
Open the mind to all the worlds that exist.
Now let's begin this conversation. First, taking our quote from John C. Maxwell, who is a leadership coach. He once said, "A leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way." Absolutely spot on. My next one is from Warren Bennis, who once said, "Leadership is the capacity to translate a vision into reality." Okay. My last one will be from Ralph Waldo Emerson, who once said, "Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." I love that. Very warm greetings and welcome to The Conversation, reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Annabelle Oji. Now today we will turn our attention to leadership matters. We'll talk about career development and youth, how the youth can actually develop their skills, personal development, coaching, mentorship, and role model. Plenty of things today we have in the basket. And my guest on the show today is Sam Nwaokomah, who is a researcher. He is a data analyst, development sector consultant. He is the founder of Soul Fitness Center, a non-government organization, and the direct youth intervention program geared towards influencing young people in character and career development through guidance, counseling, friendship, and role modeling. Most definitely, you are in for a very good show. Very welcome to the show, Sister Sam.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Annabelle. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you. Okay, now, so let's first of all start by talking about career development, or maybe personal development. Now, whenever you want to talk about career development, what most people will tell you is start by talking about personal development. Develop yourself first, your skills, and all. So how do you start by... In 2024, we know a lot of people have already started writing their New Year resolution. This is what I want to drop, or this is what I want to pick. So if I want to develop my career, I have to start by developing myself, yeah? And then my skills. How do we merge all of this together?
All right. So, well, first of all, I disabuse the people's minds about New Year resolutions.
Oh, really?
I'm not a resolution person.
Oh, so that means you did not write those things that is.
No, I don't write those things down. But I advise more of New Year consolidations, because if you must have to write something new every New Year, you definitely will have many things unfinished. You have things half baked, half done, half completed, and you see it just becomes a vicious cycle of failure. And somehow you celebrate it under the guise of New Year resolution. So I tell young people, and I tell people, just consolidate. So where are you from, where you're coming from? How far out are you close to the goals you have set? How close to the big dream you're working towards are you? So that's that for that. So first things first, that thing you've been working on, that have taken much of your time, that is giving you that greatest satisfaction in terms of growing yourself, how far are you on it? So that's that for me. So for every year, just as a year has just flipped over, it's just a continuation of time. So what you should have is consolidation. Consolidate on the things that you're doing. So talking about career development, for me to everyone that comes in contact with me, the first thing I ask people to pursue is understanding your passion. What gives you that joy? Because a whole lot of people are in the career space where they are not interested in. Maybe they are there because of the wave around them. They are there because of the glitz and the glamour that follow it. And should anything happen to those little indicators, you find that the passion bubble will deflate. So the first thing for me is, where does your passion drive you? What do you love to do? What's that thing that you can do with or without any pay? Can you wake up and just love doing this thing?
Oh, really? So in Nigeria, there are things that you can actually do without pay.
Things that gives you love that you can do without expecting to be paid for.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's why I tell young people, I mean, I work a lot within the development sector, and I encourage young people to venture into volunteering. There's always something to do. There are interventions in community. There are programs that need extra hands, people around. Just engage in volunteering. When you engage in volunteering, you begin to see a whole different angle to life. You begin to understand the several dynamics to career choices. And that's why you see many people are growing up. Some have already started by saying, I want to be a pilot when I grow up. Somewhere midway, I want to be a medical doctor. Somewhere midway, say, no, I want to be an actor. Somewhere later, I just say, now I'm doing I'm not doing POS. I'm not doing POS. And this is where I find myself, and things like that. And now the biggest one, everybody's a blogger, everybody's is a social media influencer, and things like that. So you see that what is driving it is sometimes the high turnover. Oh, where is the money coming from? Which one do I do quickly and turn around quickly, and things like that. But what is that thing that keeps your passion going? What's that thing that when you are asleep, when you are awake, when you are moving, when you are in the conversation with people, you are seeing the light around those things. Now, those are the things that should spark up your interest. Secondly is, what are those things that are most marketable? Because the bottom line is, can you convert this passion into skill? If you convert it into skill, can you get value for it? Okay. So you want to ask yourself, what are those things that across time, regardless of place, regardless of the changing climate or changing times, there will still be value attached to this knowledge. This particular service, will it always be in demand? Things like that. So those kind of things you can now use to lace up your passion to give value to your skill. And those things are all around us. Very many are all around us. Maybe if we talk more about like today, like I'm one person who encourage that. Right from the basic school, young people should begin to learn some form of vocation. It should be fused back into our educational system, wherein it becomes a basic part. Begin to learn some basic skills. It could be agriculture. It could be planting. It could be painting. It could be you can run talk shops within the school. But young people should begin to be shifted a little bit from being so theoretical about life, because life itself is not theoretical. So you find out realities that when you come out into the big world, then you are hit by all the realities that the theoretical class never taught you.
Yeah.
So it now takes the stronger to dump all the misconceptions and begin to relearn.
Oh, are you saying that all those things that we learned when we were in school, they're kind of some misconceptions?
It's not all of it, but I think we should be more intentional about converting our educational system into a place where people learn more than theoretical learning. Okay. Where you learn more than theory, where you can learn, where, for example, you could have, for example, our technical colleges. How technical are the technical colleges?
Ah, really?
Because technical colleges should be primarily passing technical skills. Then all the mathematics, further maths, English language, all the other things are complements to the technical skill. But how technical are technical colleges? How many vocational learning institutions do we have where a young person who perhaps does not, because trust me, put an eagle is a bird, a duck is a bird, but a duck in the eagle space cannot excel.
True.
So if a duck is mingling with eagles, he will continue to find himself impaired. Vice versa, the eagle, the same in the climb of the. But if a duck is placed in water, it performs excellently because it's within his space. And an eagle in air is a master of the air. So you begin to play. So we must find a system that places people in the place they belong, where they find their strength, and they can thrive, and they don't need to be envious of the other. We don't need to. There's no competition. at all. So because what you see today is that like society is saying that if you're not a medical doctor, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not in the named profession, then it's like there is practically no hope for you. So you see young people all the way from elementary school, everybody's gearing towards, take a picture, just do a highlight of career days in schools. I don't know if you've seen one, but I've not seen a career day where a child is dressed up from home as a farmer with a hoe and a cutlass and a basket. It's not the concept of the future. Many people pray for their children. But take the farmers and the agriculturists out of the system. And perhaps that's part of the challenges we're having today. Because less emphasis is placed, have been placed on those areas that strengthen the things we consider the most relegated that become the most important. So I think our education system should bring that back in. We should have vocational centers where people can learn skills. Well, a girl can learn dressmaking from her primary school, and at the same time she's learning to read and write. Learning mathematics and the basics.
Okay, so we'll come back to that question I asked initially with regards to personal development, skill development, and then the career, because you talked about the career development. I hear you talk about how we have managed to major on our minor things and then minor on our major things. And then I remember someone keep asking and saying, that's the same way you just go to school and then you're probably you're having your MBA and then your lecturer does not have a business. So if we are talking about the students, how then do we deal also with the those who are passing the knowledge?
We are a product of our society. And we cannot disconnect that. So the society gives birth to this, to us. And then in turn, we pass on ourselves to the next generation, and so on and so forth. So there has to be some level of intentionality. And it's a good thing we're having these conversations. And this conversation is going on in different places at different climes at different times. That intentionality must fuse in the change to change the trajectory of how things are going. Now, why do I want to send, what does a young chap need who wants to be a successful agriculturist or agro-business owner? The basics he needs is, first of all, to understand what product he wants to be producing, what portion of the value chain he wants to take control of, either within the country or within his local government or within his estate, whatever, and understand its sustainability and his growth plan. Then, having gained that knowledge, he can now get an MBA, for example, to get the business knowledge, because there is the business component of every venture. Now, but you see that what happens is the other way around. People go first for the MBA to become an agriculturist. And you find out that much of what you learn in all the charts and all the plottings cannot directly help plants grow. Cannot directly help you manage the kind of species of fish that we have in this part of the world, the kind of birds we grow, the kind of eggs we produce. So that's it. So, but flip the coin the other way around. You go to the rural villages and you see the young chaps who learn the farming from their, in quote, illiterate and primitive elderly people. They understand the dynamics of time, of weather, of when to put the seedling in the ground, how to prune. They know all of that without any form of MBA or formal education. Now, I'm not casting aspersion on that part, but I'm saying that there has to be some intentionality. We must be able to create a system where if I'm teaching you agricultural science, for example, in the senior secondary school, I must be able to, from time to time, take you to your farm. You should be able to see the product of my work. I should be able to, at the end of your training, and that was how it was. I mean, in the early 80s, and you should be able to, at the end, as part of your learning, to own a little portion of farm, to grow some product, to experiment on the things you are learning. So that when you are coming out, you're not just coming out with theoretical knowledge, but you come out with practical knowledge. And oftentimes, there are things that class teaching cannot provide you. You learn it hands-on.
Yeah.
Because you encounter it, then you have to confront it and overcome it. So you cannot play away with those knowledge. So back to your question is, we may have come to a system where those who teach business don't own businesses, unfortunately, or have not been able to run any business successfully, simply because it is theoretical and not practical. And there is so much emphasis on the certificates than on the let me even use the street balance, the certificate we call it, the real ability to deliver it. And you find that if somebody cannot provide a certificate, it's even different to sit in space like this to even be considered for such. But I think there should be some level of intentionality and different levels of training. We could incorporate, there could be some hybrid system. We could incorporate, I'm using agriculture as an example often because it's an area I know. If emphasis is laid on that, if true emphasis, though there's been emphasis over the last couple of years, government policies and government priority pointing towards that direction. But if beyond words, if true intentionality and policy and will could be given to agriculture, a whole lot of things will turn around. A whole lot about the lot and the good of our country will turn around. So I use that as an example. So there could be a hybrid system where people who might not necessarily be formally educated, but have this raw gift passed on to them, can be incorporated into a training system to pass this on. And then if you balance that with the power of technology and all of what's available to us today, we'll be having a great system to learn.
But then don't you have people who are already in the system now feel like, okay, why do you have to bring someone who is an illiterate, in their words? Because I remember having such conversation with with a nurse, and we talked about how you have this unregistered birth attendant, that's the orthodox birth attendant. And then they said, okay, that it's at some point the government had to now bring them in and then train some of them.
Yeah, with
then
the tax shifting and the tax sharing policy.
Yes. Then I also had the same conversation with a trado medical person who does the traditional medicine, and then the doctors will tell you, so you want to go and drink that concoction that they will give you. So at the end of the day, won't you always have these issues with the, I know it all because I have the certificate, and then that argument from them coming to those people who you just refer to that they don't have the certificate, but they have the technical know-how?
Okay, so where will the balance come for me? So these are my recommendations. Number one, I will not recommend that we let completely non-scientific individuals into the clinical space without any form of guidance. No, but that's just digressing a little bit. So that is out of the question. There has to be some level of supervision. There has to be some level of regulation. And that's my recommendation, that these persons do not exist to run institutions of their own. No. They are grafted into the system. Why? On the basis of the skills that they possess.
Okay.
So the skill is the entry. So if I know a family, because if you go to the villages all the way up Nasarawa, there are some villages that some families have made a name over the years in species of tubers of yam production, cocoyam, vegetable. It's more like it has been within the family. And so somehow, and you know how family traditions go, somehow everyone in the family have been raised with this, so it has become more like a cognitive skill on the hands of the family. So in such a wise, that skill is evident, the skill is proven, you can see its existence. However, you can't just allow them to run on their own. So what I'm saying is, how do we harness what we have that we call crude with the science and the technology that we have and get a system that meets everybody's needs?
Oh, okay.
That meets everybody's needs. Can we, can the government, for example, through the local governments, can we have policies that provide for vocational training centers, agricultural institutions in every local government or in local governments of interest that have maybe some primary products that contribute to the national economy and the national food basket? So can we create such institutions? Can we create such systems where it is regulated by government, maybe from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture down to all the agricultural mandate secretariats? Can we create such a system where these institutions are run, yes, and regulated by government authority, supervised by technical experts, but the skills of these individuals harnessed? There are things to learn from them.
Okay.
There are things to learn from them. I mean, no doubt. A close research at those levels will reveal to you things that you might never even learn in a classroom. So, and there are things that they also can learn from you. They can learn new ways of using improved seedling, insecticide treatments. They can learn new ways of preservation, new ways of, so there's several things to learn. It's like a symbiotic relationship. So, but there has to be that intention first of all.
Okay.
And now when that intention is put in place, it comes in way of a policy, and it comes by way of a supervisory body or a regulatory body. Then that doesn't come in. Then it wouldn't come. There won't be any form of, even if there may exist issues of contest, of place, and of authority.
Because I remember you said that you talk about the sky being too wide for birds
for everyone to
collide.
exist. Yes, I mean, the sky is too wide for any birds to collide. Everybody has space to operate. So even if it does happen at that level, that people still feel like, oh, why is he the one taking this? There is a regulation that makes him valid for the space he's occupying.
Okay.
And he may be able to help tutor community young people in the language they understand.
Language they understand.
Because that is key. Because what meaning will all of this policy make if it is coming to people that cannot comprehend it, that cannot buy it in? But they can own it if there's some level of integration. It will move from their policy to our policy. Yeah.
Great.
So that's it for me.
Okay, so now let's go back to personal development. And how do I actually develop myself personally? My skills, how I talk, or how I assimilate things. Take, for instance, for someone who has a challenge accepting criticism. For instance, I have someone comes to you and tell you, "Oh, I love your tie," or someone comes to tell, "Why is your tie looking so big or so small?" And you're able to read it in a very not good way. So how do I personally develop myself to, at various level, whatever kind of criticism that comes to me, I run with it and see it as positive and not negative?
Okay, one of my strongest taglines, and for those who follow me on social media, one of my strongest taglines is be true to yourself.
Okay.
That's my strongest tagline. That's existed around me for a long time. Be true to yourself simply means, for me, be honest to yourself about your strength and your weaknesses. The whole world may not see it, but at least you standing right before the mirror, you can be honest to yourself. Now, when you're honest to yourself about your weaknesses, your strength, it helps you to align to where you need support and where you don't. Now, this is what I mean. For how do you develop yourself? My straight up advice always, expose yourself to books and reading. Okay. Exceptional readers are never ever left behind. Never ever left behind. Check the records everywhere. Be a good reader. Read and read. Read everything. Read spiritual materials. Read current affairs. Read fiction. Read.
Okay.
Open the mind to all the worlds that exist. Secondly, make time to travel.
Oh.
Absolutely. Beyond, after reading for me is travel.
Okay.
Traveling is one of the biggest ways to set your soul free. You begin to understand.
Even if I'm not the type that likes to travel, though.
If you want to be better than average, then you will stab that I don't like to travel and begin to travel.
Ah, really? Okay.
Because if you want to be average and you say, oh no, this is who I am, I don't like to travel.
Well, I don't like to mix.
Yeah, then you're okay with average.
Okay.
But if you are restless about average, you are hungry for more. Learn to travel.
Okay.
Now, somebody say travel. Oh, is this where would I see money to travel? That's not the first part. Traveling, I'm not talking about traveling out. Traveling out is part of it, but everything is levels. Learn to travel from Abuja to Nasarawa, to Jos, to Kaduna, to Sokoto, to Lagos, to Abia, to Imo, to Anambra. Travel. See people differently. Now, I had this conversation with someone. Sometime, in the southeastern part of Nigeria, the Igbo speaking, oftentimes when they eat swallow, like eba, fufu and all that, they just dip it in the soup and swallow. But in the northern part of Nigeria, when they eat morsels like that, they chew. Now, they dip in the soup and chew before this one. Now, a northern guy and an Igbo speaking guy were sitting at the table, all of us together. And on one occasion, he picked on this Igbo guy. Said, this is so disgusting. How do you just take food and swallow? You don't even chew. It's so disgusting. And the guy just made a smirk of it and just continued. Then much later, as the conversation went on, he made the same comment again, and the guy flared up and said, "What do you mean? Why are you embarrassing me?" And he just caused a lot of temper. And then later we doused the temper. And I said to him, you made a very big mistake on picking on that more than once. Why? To you, it's disgusting to see him swallow that way. But you, in his climb, it's disgusting to see you chew.
Exactly. Because I remember someone said, what are you trying to understand why you are chewing your eba?
You see, so to you, now that tells you that, like I said before, we're a product of a society where we live in. We must, when you travel, it teaches you social tolerance.
Yeah.
It teaches you that there are other worlds beside mine.
Right.
It teaches you that which you hold so sacred could be trivial in someone else's climb. And that which you hold trivial in someone else's climb is sacred. So we begin to learn to understand lines, and then we become better people.
Yeah.
Naturally. When someone says, I don't like this, you want to accept it, that I may like it, but at this point he doesn't. Maybe when it comes to understand. So a well-traveled person understands that life has more sides than one.
Ah, great.
Yeah. So personal development must begin with you. You must be hungry. Brian Tracy once said that you must be desirous of success. That it's so much that you want to get up and move every day, whether you feel good about it or not, whether you like it or not, whether you are in the right place. Do you understand? Sometimes you wake up and you feel like, I don't feel good today. But when you remember all you said before you knock that feeling behind. And maybe in just a little while you realize that you are not even feeling that way anymore. You feel good about the day. So it tells you that we have a power to control the way our mind moves. So personal development must be always followed with reading. We must read a lot. We must travel. And 3, identify people who seem to be traveling in the path you love.
Okay.
Now, this is the story of my life, and that's what I share with you. I am from the southeastern part. I'm from Abia, born and brought up in Lagos, schooled all my life in Lagos, most part. Went to the University of Ibadan, schooled in Ibadan, served midterm in Osogbo in Osun State, and then I moved to the north, in Abuja. So I've been all around. I've practically been, almost every state in Nigeria. The Yoruba people have an adage that says, Ti konkon, bakbela roshe adoshe, means if the sponge lingers long enough on the soap, it will begin to lather like the soap. So if you want to become the best version of you, the a picture of the person you want to be. Personal development. Begin to identify people around you or even far away who seem to be walking the path you want to walk.
That's where you have mentorship, yeah?
Good. That's the mentorship part.
Okay.
And then draw close to them as much as possible. Like the sponge. If you linger long enough, you will begin to ladder like them. So some people that inspire you may not be close. And you say, Uncle Sam, how do I go about it? Do they have books? Read their books.
Okay.
Do they have podcasts? Do they have broadcasts? Do they have channels? Do they have a page on social media? Follow them close. People who look like what you want to be. Listen to their words. Follow their story. Where are their stumbling blocks? Now, how do you do that? It is by consistent, sharpening of that dream that you have set before yourself. And if you are not one that dilly-dallies, you will definitely be fine.
Okay, so I hear you keep saying read books, read books, read books. We'll actually talk about reading books. Let's go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue this conversation with Sam Nwaokomah. I'll see you later after this time out. Do join us again. Are you for or against Japa?
I cannot answer that question on a yes or no. Now this is it. This is it for me. Don't fail to Japa if you know that it will improve your value and help you to become a change element to your family and the people you left behind.
Okay.
Don't think about it. Don't think too much about it so that you don't start changing your mind. Don't dilly-dally on it. Get to it.
Okay.
And come back and bless Nigeria.
And then someone said that if you now Japa and then you see that the grass is not green on the other side, Japada.
Absolutely. And that's wisdom. That's wisdom. I mean, you cannot travel too long on the wrong path.
Welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Conversation. We're reaching you from KAFTAN's television studio here in the nation's capital, Abuja. If you just joined us, you've actually missed out on the first part of the show, which was quite interesting, but then you can still join in the second part. As my guest on the show today is still Sam Nwaokomah, who is a researcher, he is a data analyst and development sector consultant. Okay, before we went on that break, I said we were going to talk about reading books. I hear you talk about read books. Now, when someone comes and then tell you that, okay, I love to read books, yeah, I love to read Brian Tracy, I love to read John C. Maxwell. In fact, I've read all of his books, from 360 Leadership, everything, and I love to read. But then another person will come out to you and then tell you that what happens in Brian Tracy's world, or what happens in John C. Maxwell's world, or what happens in Warren Buffett's world is quite different from what happens in your own world, let's say from either the global north or the global south, or maybe the western country or the underdeveloped country. It's kind of two poles apart. So how do you now begin to mix with all that you have read from these same people? I hear a pastor say that the witches in abroad is very, very different from what you have in Africa. So now, if you are operating in this world and you love to read, how do you manage to bring in all that you have read from their own world to where you are operating? For instance, I'll give you another example. Someone who wants to go into restaurant business and then says, okay, I love to read books and I love to follow people like McDonald's and I love the way they do their business, but I want to do my business in Nigeria, where you have so many things affecting you, ease of doing business. You have quite a number of things that would affect your business. How do I deal?
Okay, so first things first, it is also an error to read books with the concept of the talisman concept. Now, what's the talisman concept? You feel that, as I've read this book, that's how it's going to become. Exactly what they said is what you're going to do. Now, that's an error.
Okay.
Now, in every learning, there are universal principles, which, regardless of clime and place, those principles are true. One, I mean, so if you read Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, John Maxwell, John Mason. Read all the books. One, they say for you, when you hear things like, for you to be successful in business, you need to be credible and dependable. Now that's a universal principle. If you are credible in the US, you will be successful. If you are credible in Nigeria, you will be successful. They tell you to be dependable. Be the go-to person. Make a mark for yourself as someone who, in the midst of others, people can always count on you for solution. You are not easy to panic. You are able to be calm and process situations. Now that's a universal principle. If you develop that character, it's a universal principle. You will succeed anywhere in the world with that. Another principle is be honest.
Okay.
Even if the odds are all against you, but at least be true to yourself. Be honest. Now that's a universal principle. All over the world, it leads to success. Be financially prudent. Don't spend all. If you have an earning, several books have recommended several apportioning principles. But the concept is, when you have an earning, don't consume all. Always have something you have set aside. There's a principle of tithing and giving back to God. There's a principle of also tithing to self, savings for yourself. There is the extra principle, what we call security fund. That's some concepts of mine. Some set aside, no matter how small amount, for the days unknown.
Yeah, okay.
So it does not affect your tithing to yourself, your savings, which can be project funds that help you do better things, get your career going, get your personal development going, and stuff like that. And then there is the general funds. Then within the general funds, then there's budgeting, planning, don't spend without budgeting. Now, these are universal principles. So how the story is told, or by the author that told it, is inconsequential.
Okay.
But the universal principle can be adopted. Now, that's why in every reading, there's learning. So I talk about reading books, because when you read one book, it's not enough. You must be able to expose yourself to as many worlds as are available. Attend seminars, listen to programs like this, tune online. Now, but the danger is that, because of the fast-paced nature, I mean, this is the danger of our current time. Many young people struggle with focusing on the important things, because the internet is awash with the unimportant things. Yeah, the things that make you laugh, the things that make you smile, the things that make you just stay and giggle. You just tune on to that reel, and you move from one skit to one prank skit to another one to one dance challenge on TikTok, and before you know it, it's 2 hours gone, 3 hours gone, productive hours. So now, but right on the same internet, there are fantastic podcasts, fantastic self-development training, videos and lectures, and even ebooks that you can read. So the client is not the issue.
Okay.
The individual, the mind is the issue. So regardless of where you are, you can be the best at what you want to be. There's a McDonald's in the USA, and there's a Jevnik in Nigeria.
Ah, right.
Now, these are success stories. And the Jevnik story is out there. The Tantalizer story is out there. So if you read the McDonald's story, don't stop there. Read the Jevnik story.
Okay.
Read the Tantalizer story. There is something about the universal principle
so
that will bring you to a learning.
So you have to just read for the universal principle.
You must read the universal principle, and then you will find what meets your local climate. There must be something in your local environment that the universal principle applies to. It's normal.
Great. All right, so I hear you talk about our current times, what the rush, the youthful exuberance we have now. And the last interview I just had with the guest talked about how much you have, because we were talking about the minister, this anti-corruption wind that the current president is trying to fight. And then we talked about the humanitarian minister. And then he said, according to him, he said, unquote, that the minister is at the times where you have youth who believe that others have done it. So why won't I also do mine? So now, And according to him, he believes that the youth we have now, forget the not too young to run, we always talk, that they are not ready to really build Nigeria, because they came from a generation that believes their uncles or other people have actually engaged in one corrupt case or the other, and then they were let loose and allowed to go scot-free. In fact, even some of them had the gumption to even come back to go into public offices. Now, first, I'll ask you two questions, and I'd like you to embody them in one breath. Now, first, do you see the current youth, be it the Gen Z world, the Generation Alpha, the Generation Beta, or the X, do you actually see them as people who are ready to make change? And if yes, how do we actually go in that sphere? Looking at 2027, another election coming, or 2031, in another election coming. Apart from even election, how do we actually begin to raise people who have integrity? You talked about credibility. You talked about being hands-on. How do we begin to raise such people, even with what they're seeing now?
All right, thanks very much. So your question was straight. It said, do you see these young people as people who are willing to take over? Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. And I'm passionate about it. I mean, I'm one, so I do. But I see a crop of young people who are desirous, but who have no proper maps to travel by. We are coasting on a wide sea, and there is no map to the direction we need to go. So everyone is gambling and trying. Sometime this informed the birth of sometime in 2011, I came up with the Soul Fitness Center. The Soul Fitness Center is a youth intervention program, and it is geared towards influencing young people in guided capacity development, in career development, in mental reorientation, through friendship and mentoring.
Okay.
A whole lot of young people do not have visible role models. Trust me, I feel for the minister currently and what she's going through. Somewhere in my heart, you may call it sympathy, you may call it emotion, but I just feel like I feel she fell into a muddy path which she didn't understand. And my heart goes out to her, and I pray she comes out well out of it. But coming to the question is that many young people are just like her. We're groping in the dark to find the light. We're groping, there's no direction. Very many young people do not see visible role models everywhere. Now, part of why the Soul Fitness Center came up, and we started having what we call the self-discovery series. Self-discovery series is a concept where we go into the community or a particular church area, and we single out young men and women who have succeeded by sheer determination and the dexterity of not giving up and not succumbing to general pressure. So we single them out and kind of blow up, kind of magnify their story, so that some young person can say, wow, so if she can, then I can. If he can, then I can. And that's what's missing in all of the social space. And for every television station, and I commend KAFTAN TV, for every television station, for the National Orientation Agency, for the federal government, we need to be more intentional about this, to project more role models who have not been smeared by the, in quote, corrupt practices as it has become. Because it almost looks like the corrupt ones, who have even been publicly tagged corrupt by our corrupt agencies, flagged up in the newspapers and all over the world, have become the ones who are also celebrated in the celebrity magazines. And to make matters worse, they position their wives and their children and they take over naturally. So it becomes for that young person who's coming from the street to say, you know what, I'm going to give my family a name no matter what. Because when your family has a name, your children have a chance. But is this the truth? Is this the story we need to be telling? How does it not matter how your family has a name? Can we not have names like Jacondes again? Can we not have names that we can ascribe some level of integrity to? So you begin to see that many young people don't have this. So because they don't have very many visual role models, there's a popular Nigerian sensation. I will just spare not to call the name on the air, but he became he's still serving time somewhere now in the US. He was like the king of the Yahoos. And part of his interviews that hit the social space, and he was not apologetic about it, is to say the kind of suffering he went through with his mother, it will never happen again. So he's determined to make this money anyway, anyhow. And you have many young people say the same. They make this money anyway, anyhow. And apologies to all the religious settings, both Christian and Islamic, and even our traditional. Apologies. They celebrate these ones who seem to make the money anyhow. So you begin to see that comparison. So when they arrive, like as it has just ended the Christmas period, when they arrive, the whole city is shut down. The kings give them accolade, give them titles. They are the ones that earn knighthood in the churches. They are the ones that do you understand? So what imprints are we selling to that young person who we are saying, keep your path straight, keep working hard, keep on that grind, you will make it. And somebody says, I'm not waiting anymore. I hear many people say, I was part of an intervention project. It was a research project towards an intervention for out-of-school children. And my area of scope was in Anambra State.
Okay.
And I tell you this for one. More than 80% of the young boys, more than 80% of the young boys who we interviewed did not want to have anything to do with schools.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they will tell you point blank, they say, who did school help? So what do you want to do? You say you want to make money. How do you want to make it? Say, I know. One of my uncles is this. He promised me that when I come, he will take me there. So nobody wants to know how. Mothers are willingly giving their sons off to their uncles and cousins who are returning home flashy. What they are doing, nobody cares. Now, even the young boys who are in the trade of learning one trade or one craft have stopped those crafts. Many of them no longer report to the place, to the stores where they are training, and we asked their masters, because we went to one popular leather and shoemaking market, and they said the level of apprenticeship have dropped. These young boys don't want to learn anymore. They want what they call egombute. As in, yes, they want the big money. They want that once the money lands, everywhere is shaking. Yeah. So now these are the kind of role models, and you tell and bring it home. We're talking about the coming elections and elections to come. It's going to take a very strong intentional intervention to change the trajectory of what is going on now. Because those who are able to take politics in Nigeria are those who have the mind to take politics. Trust me. And that's the way we saw the last elections, and we saw how it was like the survival of the strongest. There was a whole lot of show of might and show of clique and of, you see gang action. You see, is that the kind of politics that young people want to take into? So if you ask me, do they want to take power? Yes, they want to take power. But how to take the power is what is confusing. So they must bend to this system to become a part of this system. Some of them say, oh, let's just join them. When we enter, we change it. But you realize that once you join them, the sustainability of that requires maintaining that status quo. So it's difficult to change it.
All right, so even as we begin to round up, two questions, and I'd like you to take them together. My first question is, you get people saying that motivational speakers, they aspire to Maguire before you perspire people. They always tell you the journey of 1,000 miles begins with this step, and then they'll tell you it begins with the money that you have. So now, how do you begin to decipher when you're getting the right word from the right person, be it a motivational speaker or not? Because that's where the problem is, because you talked about mentorship, you talked about role model. if I want to be under a mentee, under a particular mentor, what I hear should be one of the things that should move me or not, right? So now, how do you begin to decipher the kind of words, sieve the right ones that you need from the kind of words that comes out from whoever you call your mentor or even the motivational speakers? And then the last one is like, we would like to get your last word to youth, especially with regards to career development, personal development, skill development.
Yeah, so talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. The best kind of words must resonate from experience.
Okay.
And that's the truth. I can tell you what I've read. You can take away from me what someone told me, but you cannot take away from me what I've experienced. And experience, they say, is the best teacher. So if someone, we run a mentorship program, and part of it is that you mentor in the area of your strength. That area where you are clearly unequivocal about the gains you have made in that line. So when somebody tells you something, two things you must look out for. Does his life reflect it? That's key. Because do what I say and don't do what I do is not mentorship. So does his life reflect it? That's one. Two, is it in consonance with truth and reality?
Okay.
It's not enough to blow me off this world. I mean, I discourage a lot of young people who run into these Ponzi schemes. You want to get rich right now. Oh, bring in this, you trade this, you do this. Oh, when the red line made the blue line and all that. All right. And I tell you, I said, those things, the words you hear, can you align them to truth and reality?
Okay.
If not, you're living a life of fantasy. It's all like that, castle in the air. And one moment, you're back on the ground.
Away.
So look out. Make sure that what you're taking in is truth and it is in alignment with reality. Okay. Then on my word to every young person everywhere is this. You must believe in yourself. Today I heard on the news this morning that Mr. President has discountenanced the Japa syndrome. You know, encouraging young people to stop, the madness of travel, relocating out of Nigeria, that things are going to get better, that there is government priority and will now to push more hands and more effort into the health sector and all of that. Great. Young people must believe in themselves. The wrong belief will still not make you survive even in the best climes. That's why the whole of young people leave this country, travel out of this country, and still don't succeed. They don't succeed. Some don't succeed.
All right.
Many succeed because of the belief. So believe in yourself and develop principles that can sell you sometimes even beyond the certificates. And I will be the best of it.
All right. So in one word, are you for or against Japa?
I cannot answer that question on a yes or no. Now this is it. This is it for me. Don't fail to Japa if you know that it will improve your value and help you to become a change element to your family and the people you left behind.
Okay.
Don't think about it. Don't think too much about it so that you don't start changing your mind.
Okay.
But if you are jackpotting because everybody is, reconsider if the investment in that jackpot will not be enough investment, seed investment, to start off here and be an influence to those people in your family and around you. Jackpot can be a learning process for some. It can be, and I've in this very sitting, I've told you how I speak greatly of travel as a learning, as part of a learning process.
Yeah.
So if you have to travel, if you have to jackpot, so that you can become a better person.
Oh, great.
And the moment you know that is it, don't dilly-dally on it. Get to it.
Okay.
And come back and bless Nigeria.
And then someone said that if you now japa and then you see that the grass is not green on the other side, japada.
Absolutely. And that's wisdom. That's wisdom. I mean, you cannot travel too long on the wrong path.
All right, Nwaokomah, researcher, data analyst, and development sector consultant. It has been a wonderful time having this talk with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
All right, viewers, I'm sure you must have been rightly educated, entertained, and informed. We have been chatting with Nwaokomah, who is a researcher, he is a data analyst, and he is also a development sector consultant. It's been a wonderful time here on The Conversation. Keep watching The Conversation because you never know who my next guest will be or what I will be speaking of next. Until I come your way again, from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Annabelle Oji. God bless you and yours, and God bless Nigeria.